Hi. I'm back. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our Geeky podcast. My name is Alex Brett, and it feels very good to be back. I've changed a couple of things. As you notice, I've got lights back here now. Ooh, pretty. They weren't there before. Also, you would have noticed that, yeah, it's been a little while since I jumped on here. That was a combination of things. I think after what happened with Ryan and Ash leaving, who, by the way, I'll link to their stuff below. After that happened, I was, at the very beginning, I was like energized, and then I kind of took a step back and was like, I kind of need a break to rethink these things that's happening, or this thing that's happening. So I didn't probably vocalize that as well as I could have, or at all, really. But I am ready to be back. I hope you guys are ready to have me back, because I'm here anyway, whether you want me or not. So, that all being said, you would have noticed the thumbnail and the title of this video, which is my review, thoughts, feelings on Solo, a Star Wars story. So, Solo, a Star Wars story. This is the origin story of Han Solo that nobody was really asking for, but Disney gave us anyway. I don't think anybody was that desperate to get the origins of Han Solo, because basically in the first scene we meet him on Tatooine, we kind of know everything we really need to know about him. So I feel like this was the first Disney Star Wars movie, or Star Wars movie in general, that was just kind of made for the sake of being made. You could say the other anthology film, Rogue One, was kind of made for that reason, but it at least filled one of the biggest plot holes in Star Wars, which was the issue with the Death Star, the massive weakness that if you shoot this thing, it blows up the entire station. You could make a case that that needed to be made, or at least that question or issue needed to be resolved. With Solo, it doesn't really feel like it had to be made. I suppose I'll get into it now. It never really justifies its existence. It feels like it's just kind of a sci-fi movie with Star Wars characters attached. There is a lot of fan service and winking to the audience. Some of it good, some of it not great. It doesn't really reinvent the wheel, so to speak. It doesn't take any real risks, which is fine. It's a fun movie. It's not a bad time, I think. There was a few moments that I enjoyed. Overall, it was a good experience, but it just was kind of, Like, I saw the movie a few days ago, and there's nothing that really stands out, apart from one kind of big thing that doesn't really affect the story at all, but kind of maybe hints at what Disney's doing in the future. The biggest mark against it is that it wasn't particularly memorable. It didn't really do anything that made me say, yeah, everyone needs to go out and see this movie, which is kind of really strange for a Star Wars film to be kind of non-essential viewing. It didn't really feel like it justified its existence. So what was good about Solo? First and foremost, I would say, you've probably heard this from every other person talking about this movie, was Donald Glover was very charming and charismatic as Lando Calrissian, which is not surprising at all, because Donald Glover is fantastic in everything he's in every medium. I've been a fan of his for ages, so I was expecting him to be good. He was good, which isn't that surprising. I did like the meeting of Han and Chewie. I did enjoy the way they met. That felt fun. Paul Bettany was very good as Dryden Voss, the kind of antagonist in this movie, as part of the Crimson Dawn syndicate, kind of an underling to the Empire, which is another thing that I kind of enjoyed, is that this felt a little bit smaller scale than previous Star Wars films. It didn't feel like everything was leading up to this big Empire whole universe battle. I did like that kind of, we didn't have to have everything going up against the Empire, which there was a kind of a link between Crimson Dawn and the Empire, but I liked that it was a little bit, it was kind of taking a step back from all over the galaxy conflict that we normally see in Star Wars films. One other thing I did miss was, that I touched on before, was the big cameo at the end, which, here we go. 100% of the reason I did this. We get a Darth Maul cameo at the end of this film, which was fun, slightly confusing for those who haven't seen things like the Clone Wars or Rebels, because in episode 1, we see Darth Maul cut in half, which for people who've only seen the movies, having him pop back up is kind of confusing, even where we are in the timeline. But Darth Maul makes a cameo, which to me is clearly setting up a Darth Maul film in future, which I am 100% on board with. And I think that's, like, his cameo doesn't really affect the story much at all. Like, if his cameo doesn't make an appearance, it's still very much complete. In terms of what wasn't great about this movie, the biggest knock against it is, as I kind of touched on before, it was just kind of flat. There wasn't like a ton of, the pacing wasn't great. I think a lot of the first kind of chunk of the movie is fairly, I don't want to say boring, but kind of boring. It was just kind of paint by numbers, action sequence. Like you could, for a lot of this, if you take away the characters and just kind of replace them with generic knockoffs, this is just a sci-fi movie. I think Woody Harrelson, of all people, didn't really make an impact as Beckett. It was Beckett. He was kind of, yeah, like a lot of Han's crew that he did a lot of these things. They were fine. They were fine. It's about all you can really say. So, to wrap up this kind of review thoughts, spitting at you thing. Overall, I thought it was a fun movie. It was a good time when I was there. Not much of what happened really made an impact post seeing it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily essential viewing. If you are a Star Wars fan, you've probably seen it already or plan on seeing it. That's cool. I don't think it's worth, like, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a particularly memorable or great one as such. That was my thoughts on Solo, A Star Wars Story. If you want to hear more about me, or from me I should say, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the button below and the bell icon next to it to know when eventually I upload another video, which I'm going to try and make more regular. Follow the Instagram at Our Geeky Podcast, or myself at Alex Haggis Pinch. That goes for Twitter as well, and like the Facebook page as well. I will try to make these more regular. I want to get back into this thing. Sorry again for taking so much time between videos, but it feels good to be back. And what were your thoughts on Solo, A Star Wars Story, and kind of where the Star Wars films under Disney are going in general? How do you think they're doing with the franchise? Where do you think they could improve it? So that's been me. Thank you very much for watching and or listening, everybody. Peace out.